in today's video, we're doing part 2 of the Just Like Being in Class series. This one is aimed at first section. So the first video that we did a nice warm-up, and then we worked on ward off left, ward off right. So today we're going to do a slightly different warm-up, and then we'll proceed with reviewing where we've gotten to so far, and then we'll add in some stationary, that is no stepping postures. And if it's possible, I'll do roll back, press, and push. So beginning with a warm-up today, I'm going to start including a little bit more relaxation and alignment in the warm-ups, because that is something that we should do in every class, and especially the alignment and release ideas. So before we begin, just standing in a shoulder width stance, I want to draw your attention to this area right where your spine enters your skull, and imagine that this area is pulled up energetically quite strongly, causing a tilt of your chin. When we combine this lift with the lift on the top of the head, the crown of the head, then we're pretty sure that the head and neck are going to be in a very aligned, open position. So to help with that opening and to create even more stretches and more opening, we drop our shoulders. I don't know if you can see this, but my shoulder just went down several inches. And this is quite typical. Most people are worse than me, unfortunately, and some even walk around during the day like that. So we want to try and get rid of those bad habits and replace them with good habits of release and alignment. So head and neck both up, suspended from above, shoulders down, and then relax your chest. And when we say relax the chest, mostly what we're referring to is that a lot of people have a very bad habit of thrusting the chest out and holding themselves very tightly. And some have even been doing this for so long that the idea that the chest can round in is foreign to them. So we put an emphasis when we're talking about the upper body on head and neck, shoulders all the way down into your hands, with the elbows being loose and the fingers open. The palm, we imagine energy in the palm and energy in the fingers. Then the chest rounds in. That gives your back a chance to round out. So the opposite of the chest thrusting out is that the back caves in. And seeing how in Tai Chi, we often speak of energy being on the back. The only way you can do that is if the back is curved outwards. So release the chest in, sink your breath down. This is my navel. If you can get the breath to the navel, that's pretty good, but we're actually looking for breath in Dantian area, which is just below the navel. And then to aid in all that, the qua should be open. The qua is a line that's bigger than I usually point to. Usually I point to this crease called inguinal crease between the belly and the thigh. But in fact, the qua is your entire hip joint, and it even goes under the body. So that whole joint we try to loosen straight down. And before you ask about pushing the groin forward, allowing the butt to go backwards, if the groin goes straight down, neither of those can happen. And this is proper alignment. The body should be straight. So loosen the chest, loosen your hip joint all the way down, loosen the groin so the groin can open and round through this area, and also round by being pulled down in this area. Now, if you are putting yourself into that position, that's fine, and that's something that some people have to do, is kind of fake being in that position. But then to get the real feeling, what we need to do is, after we're sort of in that position, is let go, or in other words, release the body. So having done that, a few things remain. I'm not going to try and cover them all, but one is that with your hip bent, we should have a clear path where there's no body part. That is from the bottom of my hip straight down to my foot, bypassing the knee. If you stand in a way that your weight goes to the knee and your hip is locked, that's not only a huge misalignment, but you're putting unnecessary weight on your knees, and knees are not meant to be weight bearing. Your hips are. So by sitting in this fashion, we should be able to sink the weight of our torso onto our hips, and from our hip, we release the hip joint, the weight goes directly to the foot. So a lot of people get stuck on these last couple of points and either push forward or back, and some even have a tendency to collapse in. But all of these are incorrect alignment, and generally speaking, bad for your joints and your body. So it's worth some time. Even in a high stance, such as I'm in right now, you can get good results if you put your mind to sorting this out and learning how to align your body. If you're interested in Tai Chi and intend to pursue it, at some point alignment has to be dealt with, as many of the Tai Chi attributes come from alignment. So now your breath, we've talked about releasing it down into your belly, head pulled up, neck pulled up, shoulders released, groin rounded open, front and back, and pulled down here, hips bent so that weight can go to the feet. And we try to calm our breath, calm our mind. So one of our goals is that we are capable of breathing down into the dantian. If you find yourself breathing in your chest, the best advice I can give you is to release your belly and your back as much as possible. You should find that if you focus to the belly, you can allow it to open, and that is going to have a strong effect on eventually sinking your breath back. So my advice is to go into that position very mindfully and taking great care that you don't misalign, and then stand for up to 5 minutes or even longer. And if you wish, you can easily raise your arms, and at this point we're doing Jianchuan, or standing post. A little bit more of a bend when we're doing standing post, but many benefits to be gained from that. So carrying on with our warm-up, the first movement is from a shoulder width stance that my fingers are aimed upwards. Some people joining us from other classes do this position, but that's a very weak position, and easily shown just how weak it is by impeding the movement very slightly. And you would realize that unless you tighten, you can't really raise your arms in that manner. The fingertips have to lead, shoulder goes down, elbow goes down, hip goes down, chest recedes, and back opens. So a few things to focus on, but we've got all the time in the world. Okay, even in this position, if you flex your elbow rather than having it point outwards, which means you tightened during the lifting of the hands, your elbow should point down. Always elbow should point down. So right goes over left, and this movement I'm not only sinking, but I'm rounding my chest in and my back out and creating a lever to raise my arms. Then reaching upward, create a stretch through the sides and on both sides of your back. It should be a very big stretch with us sitting and raising the arms at the same time. So we hold this position briefly. In the next position, is a rotation. I'm going towards my right, your left, and I'm sinking this side to create a big, big stretch more into the rib area. Now back to the center and hold, raise your arms, sink your breath, sink your hips, open your back. Okay, and moving on to the next phase of this posture, we're going to open our arms outwards to almost 45 degrees, keeping the arm straight because we actually want to stretch through the arm up into the hand and fingers. Head goes back, and although we lean very slightly, we have to release our hip to avoid locking and pushing and going forward. So sitting down, reaching up, chest sunk, head up, and neck almost as far back as you can go. Okay, and very slowly bring our arms down to shoulder height. Body very gradually straightens, and adjusting the shoulder to continuously release the shoulder with energy still in our fingers and palms. Bring the hands down and still reaching downwards. Now head goes all the way back. Continue to sit, roll the head slightly, and then ear to shoulder, nose raised, and if my alignment is good, my nose should be pointing straight forward, not on an angle up or down, but straight forward. Loosen the shoulders, and especially this shoulder. That's where our main stretch is. And tuck your chin, release. And back to ear down and nose up. Tuck again. Chin rolls all the way down onto the chest. As that happens, the shoulders come very slightly forward. The chest receives more, and your back should be open, rounded outwards all the way down through your hips. And ear to shoulder on the other side. And tuck. Raise your nose again, drop your ear. And tuck. Roll the neck all the way back. Into your palms and fingers, with the elbow released, shoulders released, stretching continuously out into your fingers. Arms come down to your shoulder height. And bending at the waist, keeping upper body straight. Bring your hands all the way down to the ground. Scoop your arms together. And drop your arms. Sit quite deeply, arms rounded to the front, and then as a unit, come up on the hips. Right hand folding on top of left. Neither hand touching or touching the body. Go into good alignment. Okay, I'm going to do another exercise. It's a kind of a windmill exercise with a lot of alignment and stretching going on. This is the way that we have been doing it for some time. I'm going to show you an alternate method today that is the opposite regarding weight, where our weight goes. So if I'm on my right arm up, I'm going to be sitting on my right side a little bit more with the left side slightly sunk. Now, as I start going backwards, I'm going to sink my left even more, and then reverse that process where now I'm sinking the right, and I'm going to end up sitting with slightly more weight on my left side. So I'm on my left side, sinking my right side, and now I reverse and sink my left to come over and sit on the right side. Okay, and going forward, same idea. I'm going to be sitting on my left side, sinking my right side. Start to sink my left. By the time I've got a high arm, I'm actually sitting a little bit more on my right side. Sitting on my right side, sinking left side, continuing, and then a weight shift over to my left. I realize changing method is going to take a while for people who have been doing the other method. It's going to take a while to adopt to this. So our old method, very good for you. It's going to teach you a lot about how to create pump or power in your stances. And a new method so only slight changes, but a little bit difficult for some to incorporate probably. So carrying on with the form, I actually don't remember if we went right from the very beginning. These first two postures are not part of the traditional form. They've been added on as kind of a greeting and preparation, that sort of thing. So beginning with our heels touching and our toes pointing out at 45 degrees, this first posture is simply called preparation. It's us getting into position. So I sink on my right side, raise my left knee, taking the weight off my foot, and then balancing on my right side, I step slightly out, shoulder width, rotate with my weight change, and then with palms very lightly pressing down with a loose elbow, sunk shoulders, that's two. and that is preparation. So opening, the old way, the first way that I was taught, and we still get lots of people coming into our classes that are doing the opening this way. All you have to do is impede that movement very slightly, and you'll realize that nobody has taught those people the basic mechanics of how to move. So the mechanics of how to move are that we create a lever with the shoulder elbow going down and the hand being pulled up. Now, when we come up to about chest height, that's one, sinking slightly, chest receding and back opening. Sit a little more and bring your fingertips to shoulder to throat height, that's two. Heavy elbows, heavy shoulders, heavy hips, that's 3 and 4. At the end of this, the hand should be a little bit more open and actually lightly pressing down, but not by tightening. This has to be a loosening of shoulder and elbow going into the palm. Now, ward off left is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Ward off to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's where we ended last time, so I'm going to turn around and go through that with you a couple of times, and then we'll proceed to roll back, press, and push. Preparation. 1, 2. Opening. 1, 2, 3, 4. Ward off left. 1, 2. No weight over on this foot. 3. More weight on this side than on my rear, but the rear hip sunk very deeply. 4, 5, 6. Ward off to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4. And roll back. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to turn around so you can see my hands more clearly, and then I'll repeat, roll that several times, giving you an opportunity to see very precisely what the arms are doing. So this arm, as happens at several points in the form, the shoulder elbows sink down onto the front hip, and that creates a lever that causes the upper arm to go up. The rear arm that has been sitting this way, it's powered by a loosening of the rear hip and simply changes position into a ward-off-like position. So we start here, sit, bend both hips a little more deeply. That's 1. Back to aim ourselves forward. 2, 3. As soon as I start going back, my chest releases in. I go onto my back, rounding outwards on my back, and I'm going to go way, way back onto my rear hip on 3. There's no turning on 3. That's reserved for 4, where we turn off at a 45-degree angle. Now let's do this again. 1, 2, 3, 4. So at the end of 4, my rear palm should be pointing almost directly forward. My shoulder and my elbow are tucked, sitting on my hip. And this is probably a good time to bring up a point about the center line of the side of your body. There's a rule in Tai Chi that no body part can go behind, and basically that is arms, because one other body part can be put behind the center of your thigh. So whenever we have an arm that goes behind the body or behind your center line, that arm becomes structurally weak. And this is very easy to test. You get someone that's willing to cooperate with you, not turn it into a major war. All you have to do is put your hands slightly behind the center line and have someone lightly impede your movement. And when you try to bring your arm forward, you're going to find it's very awkward and you're in a very weak position. So then to take the second part, we just move the arm either onto the center line or even slightly forward. Do the same strength of impediment, and you should realize it's very easy comparatively to now lift your arm. So in some of our postures, people have gained the habit of doing this. And again, they've made themselves structurally weak. From here out, none of that can root anywhere. And because we rely so heavily on rooting our body to create the Tai Chi type of power, it's essentially a dead zone, and in effect, the whole arm becomes dead because none of it can be really rooted. So it's the same going through rollback. This elbow, you don't want it coming back here. This is structurally wrong for the entire body, basically. So from this point of view, 1, 2, 3, 4. The front arm is going slightly forward with the elbow dropping in very slightly and the hand open. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now let's put it all together, and I'll go right to the end of rollback. The next posture, still no stepping involved, is press. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then push. 1, 2, 3, 4. But let's go through those in detail. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're off to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4. Roll back. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now on press, I'm going to sit more and turn my waist further to the rear. If my waist stops moving, my arm also has to stop. So we need some coordination between waist and arm. 2 is I turn my waist forward, arm comes forward. Then weight shift. 3, and a sink on both sides that results in slightly more weight coming onto the front hip. So again, we add slightly more weight, bending both hips deeply. 1, 2, 3, 4. And there we have it. So I'll break those down a little bit so you can see the detail of them. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now my waist must continue moving as long as my arm's moving. And if my waist is moving, that means my hip has to be, I have to be adding more weight and loosening, turning on the hip. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and a push. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now shake your legs. You've probably been noticing your legs are getting a bit of a workout. So I'm going to shake them out a little bit, and then in the middle of doing these exercises, I'm going to add in some more loosening. So first one, when we drop, you want the entire body to be very, very loose. Big arch back. Okay, and then another one for the leg. This is a very nice drill to do because it gets us working some coordination on our stepping. So stepping back, very light movement. I'm basically on my toe here, and then stepping forward, slightly outward, and a loose kick. We're not trying for any particular height, not trying to have a hard thrusting kick, just loosening. Arms can go with you. Okay, let's go to the other side, same movement. So one more run through the foot. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So next posture that we'll work on is single whip. Single whip is one of our most beautiful postures, but it's also a little bit complex. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we'll do that in the next video, and next video coming from single whip. We've got lift hands, shoulder stroke, and Stork spread wings. All of them very brief, 2-count postures and not a lot of fancy footwork at all. So once we're through single whip, you've accomplished quite a bit. You should be proud of yourselves. So I hope your training continues well. That's it for this lesson, and I'll see you for lesson 3 shortly.